bombings throughout the Midwest. He was a 21-year-old Wisconsin college student named Luke John Helder. Mr. Helder is suspected of having something to do with the 18 bombs which have been found in 5 states, including one which was found today in America.
The FBI is asking Helder, an industrial arts student at the University of Wisconsin South, to turn himself in.
We agree with the safety message here. We to make contact with us. We do not want to see him harm or any public harm.
Sources say that Helder's roommate told investigators there was evidence of black powder residue and pieces of pipe in their off-campus apartment. And investigators were told that Helder had not been seen on campus for a week. The investigators have recovered fingerprints from the evidence left behind at the crime scene. They want to compare those to Helder's fingerprints. According to sources, FBI and Postal Service investigators also contacted Helder's father, who said his son had made anti-government statements.
The Luke is not a dangerous person. The business is trying to make a statement about the way our government is run.
Luke was the father and was apprehended after a police chase. Luke revealed the location of the rest of the bombs, and he had planted them in a way that made it so that when the locations were it resembled a smiley face. This led to him being known as the smiley-faced bomb. He pleaded not guilty to the charges against him, and eventually pleaded insanity. He was deemed incompetent to stand trial, and was being detained in a mental ward since 2002. In 2013, a court ordered for Helder to re-evaluate his competency to stand trial. If he is found to be mentally sane, it's likely he will be sentenced to life in prison for his actions, considering he essentially carried out a one-man terrorist attack with no regard for the safety of the innocent people who would inevitably open the mailboxes he planted the bombs in. It definitely seems like keeping him behind bars for the rest of his life might be for the best.
Mirror, mirror, burning gold. Through your depths, a story hold. I'm a rock star who became a monster! With an awful name.
Definitely one of the more infamous and hated people on this list. Paul Gadd, known almost exclusively by his stage name Gary Glitter, is a British rock singer who was most active during the glam rock era of the 1970s. He actually began his career in 1960, releasing his first single at the age of 15 under the name Paul Raven. His career didn't take off until 1971 when he released 2 singles, Rock and Roll Part 1 and Rock and Roll Part 2, both of which became huge hits in the UK, and the latter being one of the few glam rock songs to reach the Billboard Top 10 in the US. Around this time, he began wearing his trademark glitter suits and platform shoes, which would become one of the most iconic looks of the glam rock era. He would go on to have 11 top 10 hits in the UK, including the #1 hit, I'm the Leader of the Gang, I Am. After this, however, his career began to stall, and he announced his retirement from the music industry in 1976. The next year, he declared bankruptcy. It wasn't until the 1980s when he began to finally claw his way back into the charts. With his 1981 Christmas hit, Another Rock and Roll Christmas, guest appearances with other artists helped him to maintain his relevance for the rest of the decade and into the 90s. He also faced legal trouble around this time, however, as he had been arrested 3 times for drunk driving, with the last arrest resulting in a 10-year driving ban. His success continued into the 90s, with him releasing the best-selling autobiography, The Leader, and also performing at the opening ceremony of the 1994 FIFA World Cup in Chicago, which was viewed by hundreds of millions of people in 46 countries. He was also set to make a cameo in the Spice Girls movie, Spice World. November 1997, Glitter had taken his laptop to PC World for repairs. What the technician found on Glitter's hard drive shocked him. The police were informed that the technician had discovered thousands of pornographic images on the hard drive, all of them involving children. The police then searched his home in London and Somerset and discovered more. The story quickly spread through the media, and Glitter's cameo in Spice World was removed in response. In total, Glitter was found to be in possession of over 4,000 images. On November 12, 1999, he was sentenced to 4 months in prison and registered as a sex offender. Upon his release, he expressed regret for what he did and said he wanted to move on from the incident.
I deeply regret doing what I was sent to prison for. I've served my time. I want to put it all behind me.
Sorry.
Glitter was rejected by the British public following this and fled to Spain. He lived on his yacht, which was moored in Sotobernard for 6 months, until the locals his real identity was eventually discovered, leading to him fleeing to Cambodia. However, he was arrested there in late 2002 due to his previous convictions and jailed for 4 days before being released on bail. Before returning there, he had attempted to enter Thailand. However, he was denied entry as he was considered a danger. Over 19 countries stated that he was denied before he finally returned to the UK. Upon his return, he was immediately added to the sex offenders register for life. In 2012, the British police launched Operation U-Tree, an investigation into historical allegations of child sexual abuse following the scandalous revelations of countless indecent acts committed by British TV presenter Jimmy Savile. Glitter was among those arrested by the police. In 2014, he was charged with 8 counts of offences committed against girls aged between 12 and 14 between the years of 1977 and 1980. In 2015, he was also accused of committing obscene acts with 3 war girls between 1975 and 1980. On February 5, 2015, he was convicted of rape and 4 counts of sexual assault and was sentenced to 16 years in prison. Since his first conviction in 1999, Glitter has been seen by everyone as nothing more than a disgusting human being, and rightly so. His career is now non-existent, and at 77 years old, most people now only wonder if he will live to see his release. Regardless, he will always be known now for Gary himself, the rock star who became a monster. Get truly disgusting. Born Ian David Parsons Watkins in 1977, Ian was, by all accounts, a normal character and had a love for workmanship. It was at Hawthorne High School where he met fellow music player. The two formed a thrash metal band called and began to perform Watkins' Shed. While at the Full Pony Festival, Ian met another musician, guitarist Lee Gage, who after having split up, Watkins and Gaze formed a band called Christian, but this group was also short-lived. Watkins and Lewis later reunited a punk band called Public Disturbance. With Watkins the two stayed with the band for 3 years before leaving the band in 1998 to focus on what was originally their side project, Prophets, which also included Ian's Fleshbite, Lee Gaze, and Mike and Brown. After spending 2 years following the band released their first studio album, The Fake Sound of Progress. At first, the album received little attention, but upon the release of the 2 singles, Shinobi vs. Dragon Ninja and the album's title track, the band went on to receive much more mainstream attention. This led to them touring with big-name bands such as Linkin Park and Deftones as an opening act. They also toured at Ozfest and played at other major events, such as the Reading and Leeds Festival. In the following years, Lost Prophets began to even more success, with their second album, Start Something, going to number 4 on the UK charts in 2004. Their third album, Liberation Transmission, debuted at #1 on the UK album charts in 2006 and featured what was probably the first song, Rooftops. During this time, however, Watkins had being addicted to cocaine. 2008 will be the year when the first signs of just what kind of man Ian Watkins really is will come to light. In December of that year, Joanne McGregor, the former soldier had reported Watkins to a 23 child services for sexual abuse towards several 14-year-old girls, after Watkins had bragged about taking their virginities. In January 2009, police investigation was launched against Watkins following these allegations. However, this case was eventually closed later that year. McGregor attempted to report him several more times between 2009 and 2011, but no action was taken by the police. However, on April 3rd, 2012, one day after a video surfaced of Watkins performing an obscene and disgusting act on an infant. Another video surfaced of him engaging in acts with an underage fan from Boston, Massachusetts. In December 2012, Watkins was arrested and charged with 13 sex offenses against children, one of them being 1 year old. In November 2013, he pleaded guilty to the charges against him. It was also reported that he had sent a message to one of the women he was seeing saying, "If you belong to me, it's your baby." The day after his plea, he was reported to have made a phone call to a fan from prison, in which he described his horrific mega loans, showing no remorse for what he had done. On December 18, 2013, Watkins was sentenced to 29 years in prison, with eligibility to apply for parole after serving 2/3 of his prison term, followed by 6 years of supervised release. After giving a sentence, the judge concluded that the case posed new levels of safety. Senior investigation officer described Watkins as a committed, organised paedophile and potentially the most dangerous suspect. The other members of Lost Prophets formed a new band called No Devotion, and recruited singer Jeff Ricky to effectively take Watkins' place, as they had made it clear that they were all tied to their disgraced former lead singer. While his old bandmates continued on, Watkins is currently sat in the prison cell, where he'll most likely remain until 2022. It seems very unlikely that the UK authorities have any intention of allowing someone as dangerous and as sick as him back into society. I couldn't make a video about evil musicians without including Bard Vikernes. Born Christian Vikernes in 1973 in Bergen, Norway, he and his family moved to Iraq when he was 6 years old. His father was an electronics engineer, developing a computer program for Saddam Hussein. There were no places left at the English school in Baghdad, so Bard had to go to an Iraqi elementary school. Bard later recounted that he faced racial discrimination from the other students at his school. On one occasion, Bard got into an argument with his teacher and called him a monkey. He stated that the teacher didn't dare hit him, however, as he was white. The fact that his fellow students were frequently beaten and he was most likely to start with his well-documented white supremacist views, believing that exemption from corporal punishment made him above his fellow students and teachers. These views were not exclusive to him, however. Bard claimed his father owned a swastika flag and hated living in the same town as refugees. In regards to his mother, Bard stated that she was scared of quote, "come home with a black girl." They also claimed that Bard was as a teenager, but he denies this, saying that there were no sprinkles in Bergen. Bard began listening to heavy metal music when he was 12, and cited Iron Maiden as his biggest influence. His love of heavy metal led to him learning to play guitar at the age of 13. In 1992, at the age of 19, he started his own one-man black metal band named Burzum. It was during this time that he met Johannes, lead guitarist of the band Mayhem. Despite being a highly influential figure in the Norwegian black metal scene, he was nevertheless controversial due to his actions following the death of Mayhem's previous lead vocalist, Per Olin, better known as Death. While Varg and Euronymous would collaborate musically, they would also take part in an event that would bring black metal music to the public eye, for all the wrong reasons. On June 6, 1992, the Santos Star Church, which had stood for over 800 years on the American history, was burned to the ground, and it would be the first of many arson attacks committed by members of the Black Resistance. Varg and Euronymous took part in the burning of at least one church. In total, 50 churches were burned between 1992 and 1996. In early 1993, animosity had begun to grow between Varg and Euronymous. While it had known what caused the rift, it resulted in Varg stabbing Euronymous to death in his apartment on August 10, 1993. Varg claimed self-defense, saying that Euronymous planned to stun him with a taser, tie him up, and torture him to death on camera. Varg's claim of self-defense is obviously questionable, as Euronymous had been stabbed 23 times, with 16 wounds being used. Varg was arrested on August 19, 1993. The police found 150 kilograms of explosives and 3,000 rounds of ammunition in his home. He had apparently been planning on blowing up the Blitz House, a far-left social centre in Oslo, on May 16, 1994. After a 2-week trial, Varg was sentenced to 21 years in prison for murder, the arson of 3 churches, the attempted arson of a 4th church, and the storage of 150 kilograms of explosives. And that's probably one of the most infamous moments in music history. Upon receiving his sentence, Varg looked directly at the news camera in the courtroom and gave a clear smile. Varg was released from prison in 2009 on probation and changed his name to Louis Pochel after moving to France. He has continued to face legal trouble since his release. In 2013, both he and his wife were arrested under suspicion of planning a terrorist attack after his wife purchased 4 rifles. The two were later released without charge, as the police were unable to find any evidence of a terrorist threat. However, Varg was charged with hate speech against Jewish and Islamic people due to posts he made on his blog, Being Introspective. He was given 6 months probation and a 3,000 euro fine. He has also been banned from YouTube due to besides policies on hate speech. Despite his criminal history, Varg has built up a dedicated following due to the intrigue surrounding his past. However, as a convicted murderer, would-be terrorist and neo-Nazi, there's no denying that he belongs on the list of this. Was an American producer and musician. He was born in the Bronx, New York, on December 26, 1939, to Jewish Ukrainian immigrants Benjamin and Bertha Spector. He experienced tragedy early in his life at only 9 years old, when his father committed suicide in April of 1949. Following this, Spector's family moved to Los Angeles when he was 14. He would meet several other aspiring musicians, including future Beach Boy Bruce Johnson and Louis Adler, who would later go on to become a successful producer. During this time, Spector formed a band called the Teddy Bears, who in 1958 would release the single To Know Him Is To Love Him, becoming the #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Unfortunately, they were never able to replicate this and split the next year. Spector then spotted performing for producing. While he would find success producing and writing records for a number of artists, the act that he would become the most involved with was the all-female R&B group, the Ronettes. In particular, their lead singer, Veronica Green. The group's work with Spector led to several hit singles in the early 60s. However, this success Spector went into seclusion for the next several years. During this time, he had begun a relationship with Veronica Greenfield while he was still married to his first wife. After divorcing her, he married Greenfield in 1968. Upon taking her name, she began professionally calling herself Ronnie Spector, and named for the priest who was to have her in. The two had biological children, and set up from 3 sons, Dante Prince, and twins Louis and Gary. Ronnie would later claim that Spector had been horribly abusive to her during their marriage, being torment by not allowing her to perform. He surrounded his mansion with barbed wire and also separated shoes to prevent her from escaping. One of the more bizarre claims made is that on the rare occasion that Spector did allow her to leave the house alone, she would have to drive with a life-size dummy of him sitting beside her in some sort of sick way for him to be with spirit. Ronnie began drinking heavily and fell into alcohol, but she seems to have done this so she could attend Alcoholic Anonymous meetings and get out of the house and away from the husband. Spectre had apparently even in his past to have a bold investigation in the man's basement and told her that if she decided to leave him, he would kill her in 1972, Ronnie was able to escape from Spectre's leaving all of her possessions behind. The two divorced in 1974. Ronnie was threatened into forfeiting all of her future recordings, with Spectre claiming he would hire a hitman to kill her if she refused. She was also forced to surrender custody of her sons to him. Years later, their sons, Gary and Dante, would reveal that Spectre was abusive towards them, with him keeping them captive in the same way he had done to Ronnie. They also claimed that he would force them to engage in sexual acts with one of his girlfriends. In case you hadn't figured it out by now, I'm just going to He was also infamous for waving guns around in the studio in 1970 while working on John Lennon's Rock and Roll album. Spectre, reportedly high out of his mind on American records, right next to Lennon's ear, filming it as a sick prank. In 1978, while working on Leonard Cohen's Rock and Roll album, a drunk Spectre pointed a gun at Cohen. He also pointed a gun at Blondie Debbie Harris, when he invited her to his mansion to discuss a studio probably assumed Spectre didn't have the guts to actually go through the shooting area. He proved that this wasn't the case. On February 3rd, Spectre met Alana Clarkson, who was working as side as a waitress at the House of Blues in Los Angeles. He invited her back to his mansion, but she accepted. The two went inside, while the driver went outside. An hour later, the driver heard a gunshot, followed by that girl saying, "I think I've just killed her." Clarkson's body was found slumped in the chair with a gunshot wound. Spectre claimed that Clarkson's death was due to an accidental suicide after she had killed However, several evidence came forward during his trial, claiming that he had threatened them with a gun after they had rejected his advances. On May 2009, Spectre was sentenced to 19 years to life in prison for the murder of Ron Clarkson. He appealed his sentence several times, but was denied each time. He died in prison on January 16, 2021, after being diagnosed with COVID-19. Essentially, there are two perspectives I remember today. One being the groundbreaking record producer who built the world many classic records, and the other being a cold-blooded killer who murdered an innocent woman for rejecting his advances.
When I stand on the mountain and I say, it gets done. And that's a lot.
My videos aren't usually ranking, hence why I don't remember the entries, but in this case, it's hard to know if really is the most evil, deranged, and despicable person, and probably the most evil musician who has ever lived. His story has become ingrained in American history. He is one of the country's most infamous criminals. I don't go into too much detail about his life story, so I'll be discussing it without giving too much away. Charles Manson, born on November 12, 1936, he was married before he burned down his school in his own name and was regularly committing petty theft by 13. He spent the majority of his adolescent years in reform schools. Despite his lack of education, he was believed to have an IQ of 109 at the age of 16. He was also diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. He was diagnosed as a sociopath. His school was a never-ending cycle of him escaping before being caught only to escape again. He was eventually moved to a maximum security juvenile detention facility where he stayed until he was 20 years old, as he was released a year after good behavior. During his time out of prison, he married a waitress in January 1955. That October, he was arrested in Los Angeles for driving a stolen car over state lines. He failed to appear in court for this charge, and a similar charge against him in Florida, and was sentenced to 3 years. While serving yet another sentence, this time in the United States Penitentiary, he learned to played the guitar with help from Alvin Wilson's record producer Phil Coffey, who believed that Manson had the potential to land him a record deal. After his release from prison in 1967, Manson moved to San Francisco and met a number of women who he convinced to move into his life. Manson had become known to the hippies of the local area as a guru. He told them that they were the reincarnations of the original Christians and that the establishment were the Romans who wished to control them. Naturally, he saw himself as a messiah-like figure, often telling a story that he pictured himself nailed to a cross. With a large group now made up of both men and women, they went on the road across the west coast of America and called themselves the Manson Family. In 1968, two of Manson's female followers were hitchhiking and were picked up by a man who happened to be the famous musician Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys. He took the girls back to his home and while he told them about the Beach Boys and how they had been involved with a famous Indian guy named Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, to which the girls replied that they also had a guru. When Wilson returned from a recording session the next morning, Charles Manson greeted him and said that the women there would do anything Wilson asked. And Manson told Wilson that he decided to become a recording. Dennis took Manson to his brother Brian Wilson's home studio, where Manson recorded every material, though these tapes have never been released. He also wrote a song entitled Cease to Exist. However, Manson responded to these changes by talking to Paul Wilson, who didn't let Manson intended and instead ended their friendship. He left his home with the Manson family still living there and let the leaves from the house run out, resulting in the family's bankruptcy. It was a desperate that Manson began to suspend his family. There would leave several people's deaths at the end of 1965. After listening to the Beatles' self-titled album, or